Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our St. Joseph County Public Library meeting for May 22nd, 2023. I will call the roll to determine a quorum. I will start with Ann.
Here.
And you have any materials?
And I have my materials.
Terry, we are glad to see you in the flesh.
And yes, I'm here and I have one.
Christine,
Yes and yes.
Alan,
I'll say yes and yes.
and Ruth,
Yes and yes.
and we are missing
Dr. Garcia had an emergency.
Emergency. So we have a quorum. You have in front of you we have the consent of the agenda, the consent agenda, I'm sorry. Of the 4 items there. We have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Sorry.
And second, I will call the roll. Ruth,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Christine,
Aye.
and Ann. I vote aye. Consent agenda has been adopted. We now have the director's report from Stephanie.
Thank you. The most recent update is that our solar panels for the Tut branch are suddenly being installed this morning. There was a bit of a delay with the approvals, the permit, something like that. Permits, I think it was. But it all got cleared and they were out there installing today. They expect to be done by the end of the week. We do have an education piece with that. When the solar's installed, there will be a monitor inside the building that will show how much kilowattage is being generated at any given time. So I'm really excited to see that implemented.
Excuse me, will that show net? In other words, if they're not generating for their needs and they're using power off the grid, does it show that?
I believe it shows a number of different things.
Okay.
And I'll know more next month when it's actually installed and working. And that was, if you'll recall, funded in part by a grant with the city. And we are applying for another grant with the city to do a heat pump out there. So we'll continue to make that sort of our sustainability branch as a model and then work our way out from there. One book author event with Mike Curato was really excellent. He talked a lot about his journey as an artist, which the Education Foundation had an artist, the author of which books? The Lunch Lady books, who's also an artist. And so it was really interesting within a week to listen to those two author talks and how they journeyed as artists and authors and illustrators. Spill the Ink Poetry a couple nights later had 100 poets of all ages read their poetry here at the Layton Auditorium. So that just continues to grow. Summer reading, I could just read you what I wrote here, but we have a little video that hopefully if you'll be quiet and listen, the sound is coming from the computer here. But if you haven't seen it on social media already, they did a great job putting this video together to promote Summer Reading Club.
Okay, I'm ready. It was born ready. You know one. So what are you reading? Summer reading club at the library from June 1st to July 31st. There will be some amazing courses. You can earn points by reading books, exploring your library, and exploring your community. Discuss.
I just think they did such a great job of that. Jill, one of the stars, will be talking with you later tonight. And we've really worked hard to sort of level things out in our summer reading club so that our slow readers have as many opportunities to win as our really star readers. And we think that's important because of course we want those slow readers to read more, and we want them to be incentivized to read more. So we are also going to give a book to every kid who everybody,
2 books.
one in June and one in July.
Yeah.
It equals 2.
Everybody.
To everybody. And to support those efforts, we had our flashback book fair, which was hugely successful. We had 230-ish people attend. If you've ever been to a library fundraiser, you know, most of the attendees are in the 50+ population. This is almost entirely 40 and under. I was the old lady there. So that was a really cool thing to see. And we had a full cart of books donated,
200 books.
200 books, and then earned profits from selling personal pan pizzas and Scholastic bucks.
Yes, we sold $4,000 in material at the book fair, and that resulted in 2,000 being donated back to the library to use to buy books fair. So, and the 200 books had a value of 2,000. So we really raised about $4,000 in money to buy books for kids. It was huge. It was so exciting.
And everybody who walked into the book fair room was just like, oh my gosh, it's my childhood again, and now I can buy books. My mom never gave me money, or that kind of thing. So it was just a really nostalgic, really good event. So we're going to do it again next year. And is Lisa here? Because kudos to her and her
Yes.
team for
And while Lisa,
really just making it happen. We'll do it bigger and better next year.
she's still sleeping.
I have to say that whatever's going on with Lisa and Friends of the Library is just earth shattering. It's just wonderful. It's good to see. It's gone from, oh, let's just sell old books to let's really do some development for the library. So kudos to everybody involved. That was wonderful.
Thank you, Christine. I would agree. Great team. Chamber of Commerce after hours this month. We received that. I was welcoming everybody and was talking about our South Bend Ready program, which Jill will tell you more about later. And got the applause in the middle of my brief talk. So that's always exciting. The window project at Maine, every test on every window they have repaired is coming out dry. So that is very exciting. I think we're nearing completion in the next couple of weeks. A hold for this weekend, of course. And then those windows will be watertight. Then they'll have to come back through, repair drywall and sills and that sort of thing. Request for proposal, more questions. So I've had questions from 3 firms, and I know that one more is working on it. So I'll send out the addendum tomorrow. Those proposals are due back to me on June 1st, and we'll take the next step after that. The ribbon cutting at Tiny Town with downtown South Bend was adorable and so cute and super fun. They replaced the vet's office with mail, like a little post office. They call it speedy delivery. They even have laminated postcards and laminated stamps with Velcro on them, so the kids can put the stamp on the postcard and stick it in the mailbox. So really great.
It's so funny. I was with some teachers in the last week who said kids don't even know where stamps go on envelopes anymore.
Well, they can learn at Tiny Town.
That's wonderful.
What was the motivation to eliminate the vet office? Just not.
We had a rotated one available and ready. So it's just to swap out, and we can swap out some more things and just to keep interest. Rachel Finch will be the new manager at TUT. She's been with the library for 17 years. She's really great. She recently started working on developing our training for HR. She was working with Kara and decided she just missed the people. Like it's a different job working for internal staff as working with the public. So she'll be back to working with the public in that role. And then you'll hear more about insurance in a little bit.
Thank you. Any questions for Stephanie? If not, do I have a motion to, oh, I'm sorry, Ann?
I was curious, so what are you doing for the slow readers? I think that's great, but I was just wondering,
traditionally, you got more raffle tickets the more that you read. Everyone gets to earn the same number of raffle tickets by participating. So we're hoping that will encourage them to continue, because before you're like, well, Sally over there is reading 100 books and I'm only getting through 2 or 3. She's going to win the prizes and I never will.
Okay. So you just keep here.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So youth services and Jenny and her team came up with and public services worked together on this project. So
Any other questions? I do have a motion to accept the report. And
Second.
Christine, I will call for everybody's vote. I'll start with Ann.
Aye.
Terry. Christine.
Aye.
Alan. And Bruce.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. It's been accepted. Patron engagement report. I know who that's is.
Right, I'm gonna keep it brief today. Yes, other things. So we did have a different circulation this past month, but part of the reason we are displaying the graphs this way so that we can keep a lot of you, I think, to kind of understand the trends that are going on. So that's just something to note, but it's just one data point. Interestingly, especially since we're looking at this year as sort of a full return to everything, we've had about a 1% increase in card holdership every single month. And we don't really have a precedence for understanding what that number would have been previously, because we didn't the way that we track things and all the disruption that was years before. So I'm kind of looking at that number also to see if that's normal, is that good, what does that mean? And how can we sort of increase those things over time? Because we are noticing that monthly signups are going down for card holdership. So, you know, are there any changes that we might need to make to increase that or see where people are, maybe areas in town that aren't having as much card holdership as others. But in other news, we have seen about a 16% increase in computer use and general visits to the library, and that's at all branches are seeing that. And that's from the previous year. So that's good because it's just showing that people are coming back and using all of the branches. So we're also not seeing, you know, that there are some areas that are experiencing higher levels of that. It's pretty consistent across all our neighborhoods. And then Wi-Fi continues to be the big shooting star of library services, and there's been about a 34% increase across last year. But that one, you can tell from the graph, is really the one that's sort of like climbing off the charts for that.
And I'd just like to piggyback on patron engagement. We just signed a contract with Focus. For those of you who are not familiar, they're a nonprofit who hires fellows to do work with the hope of bringing recently graduated students into South Bend and then getting them enjoying our community and invested in our community and hope that they stay. So they will be doing patron surveys over the summer for us, particularly looking for those non-users, like why don't you use the library? And then also if they're not using their local branch. So if you live in the neighborhood near Francis, but you always come to Maine, why is that? So we'll get some good data from them and we'll see what we can learn about our patron use and how we can engage our patrons better through those surveys.
Jenna, do you think the increase is because of end of school?
I think that as far as things like visitation, it could be, but my guess is just that people are, you know, it's a little bit seasonal. And, you know, yeah, warmer. Well, I don't know. It's an interesting one. Like there's a lot of, I think a lot of factors that call into that. As far as like the number of card holders, I think when we were hitting the school, like both kindergartens and the other, that's when we saw really a steep increase in the number of people that were signing up. And now we're kind of seeing the downward slope of that. But visitation, especially because we have all our locations and there's just so many factors that go into play in terms of why people are visiting at any particular time. I was looking at, you know, the general trend, and it does look like they're around this time of year. There tends to be sort of like a little jag down for the number of people, which probably is tied into school, and then summer sort of levels out. So we'll see if that happens again.
I think with all the graduations this weekend.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year. Yeah.
I have a question. If the you're talking about the new card holders, but if the number of new card holders plateaus, you still have gained all those people, so it's not really.
Yeah, I think it's always keeping the bucket full, you know, and making, and part of our interest is, you know, are there areas of the community that maybe aren't being kind of served in the same way as others? And, you know, you don't need a card to do all sorts of things at the library, so it's not a true measure of use, we know that. But it is one way that we can help people get access to all of the things that we offer. So understanding what areas maybe don't have as much, you know, signups or as many card holders is useful for kind of determining maybe places that we have to do more outreach to.
And I also wondered the patrons served by curbside pickup, obviously, and we know why that's not. But would there come a point where you would say we're not going to do it anymore?
We were just talking about that actually, just it's a good case of a number that really like, it was high during COVID and then pretty quickly after it sort of leveled off. And like, there's what, a good 100 people that still use curbside, but it's such.
We just saw the number out of Dallas for their curbside. It was 12
All of
for
it,
the month.
and they
yeah.
have 500,000 visitations a month.
Yeah.
So it's an easy service to do.
And really for people who have mobility issues, for people who have young children, it can be a real benefit. So it's not complicated for us. So as long as we can,
Yeah.
we'll just continue. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that we're running into 2 years of it being pretty steady
Yeah.
suggests that we've sort of like, that is the level of use that we're likely to see without, you know, just as a general baseline. So,
Where do they go to, you know, like here?
you can go to any location and I could,
We're doing it here, really.
it is,
By the employment entrance, it's over by the
like a
book drop. So they just go there and go.
yeah, but I could look at which branch is having, like has the most, pickup, but.
Any other questions for Jenny? Not, a motion to get the accept this report. So moved.
I guess that's
I just answered.
We don't have any remote participation though, so you could do a general A and A instead of a roll call vote.
All in favor? Opposed? I've got it. I'm good. Financial report, Madam Treasurer.
Right, I will give you all the exciting number first. Trust Indiana. Actually, we've made a couple of more decisions with Trust Indiana to move some additional dollars in there because it just made sense to make more money out of what we have. And we know our cash flow at this point, and it made more sense to put it into Trust Indiana. So we did move additional $6 million over. So, and our yield right now is at about 5%. So it's getting better every month. So the average yield for April was 4.886%. We have in total at the end of, as of today, we have $101,309.98 in that interest in Trust Indiana. So we're doing pretty good with that. Some things that we're working on within the business office, we are working on internal controls, documentation, purchasing, credit cards, vehicles, petty cash drawers, just getting that more robust from what we can figure out and what we can find in our files. We also received our final circuit breaker amount, which is 1 million less than was estimated. So that is, again, another great plus that we have another $1 million or so to work with. And then I think that's all I got.
Good, so
We haven't been for, but we're making it that even better.
did you say the figure for interest was $100,000?
Yes.
What bank are we using?
You have to be a governmental unit to invest. So it's
Yeah,
Gains.
It's really gains.
I guess.
Right, yeah, so gains, we're continuing.
Well, interest rates are going up everywhere across the board. So you're probably doing a little better at your bank than you were this time last year too.
And did you have 15 million to invest? Mark?
What different, Christine? Still on it to me. Okay, do we, do I accept the financial report? Any questions for Jeanette? Motion to accept? Second, I got a motion second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign, ayes have it. Moving on, unfinished business, do you have any unfinished business?
We
I
don't.
don't have any unfinished business. New business, lease agreement, Stephanie, please enlighten us.
So, this is, I guess, would be the fourth amendment to the lease for the Music Village. And one of their concerns was that the current lease had a termination clause on our behalf that we could say we need the space. And that was built in when they were working on this project. And so clearly we don't need the space for this project. And I don't have any plans for that building for the next 3 years. They're excellent tenants. They always pay their rent. Their mission really aligns with what we do here. They do a lot of partnerships with us. I see no reason not to just give them the space for another 3 years. So Mr. Masters rewrote that lease for us, and I'm just seeking your approval so that we can send it to their board.
There's two-side approval, correct?
Mhm.
Any questions for Stephanie? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Carrie, a second? And second. All in favor of the lease agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say aye. Say nay. No opposes? Ayes have it. All passed. I need to sign this form or a different form.
They'll send it to you through DocuSign.
I will do that on time this time. Okay, public service policy update. Not this year's. Okay,
We have a few items that we would like to update to the public service policy manual, and the first one is holidays, and it's just removing the dates. So every year we won't add in like the ones that change. Easter Sunday, Mother's Day.
Ronna, can I pause for just 1 second? What we did with our policies is we chunked them out for the year and just put them on a schedule. So you'll be seeing on a fairly regular schedule some different policies. And that's just a way so that we know every year that we've reviewed them and looked at them, and that we're not doing haphazard additions to our policy making. So Ronna worked on the general policies this month. Sorry, Ronna.
Okay. So the first one is pretty straightforward, just removing the dates, and nothing else has changed. And then the next one is part of the library code of conduct for children. And currently the code of conduct states that children under the age of 7 must be under the direct supervision of a person age of 13. So that means children who are 7 years of age or older can be at the library unsupervised. We are requesting that this be changed for the safety of children, changed to children under the age of 10 must be under the direct supervision of a person the age of 13 years or older. And we defined what direct supervision means, and it's being able to see and hear the child, being close enough to render immediate assistance, and being engaged and able to redirect behavior. So it's changing the age from 7 to 10.
And how will this be communicated?
Sure, we do have a plan to work with our communications department to get the word out, but also we have a pretty good relationship with the school corporation and the empowerment zone, so we can get that word out before school starts. So this wouldn't be implemented until school starts. So over the summer, we can get the word out and wait for the end of the school year. So it'll be a little bit of a budget.
Have you had specific problems with children who come in with taking time?
I'm going to look towards our new services manager, to help write this proposal. And there are times in an emergency when a child is 7 or younger, they don't necessarily know their contact information or even their parents' names, their address, and we can't necessarily act as their parent. And we
That's always the biggest point, is that in an emergency, especially now that we're thinking about safety policies, if we can't connect the child to a parent, if they don't know their information, we can't pass that along to any first responders on the scene. We get kind of stuck in a bad situation where that's not safe for the child, it's not safe for the library to be trying to help direct the child, so we just wanted to make sure that everyone who's here unsupervised by themselves is old enough to handle that responsibility and, know how to get in contact with any emergency contacts.
I agree with the policy, but on the other hand, my devil's advocate question is if the child is carrying a card, doesn't that have the demographic information? I mean, it had.
Only if
we're
it's-
giving a.
Only if it's up to date,
Oh,
only if mom and dad are not at work.
and if they don't have to move
Yeah.
in the last 3
And the
months.
other thing is, we do ask kids to leave if they violate our conduct, and staff is just not comfortable doing that with an 8 or 9-year-old, even a 10-year-old, but you have to call a number somewhere, and so we're just more comfortable with the 10 and up.
Makes sense.
So, and even some 10-year-olds don't, I mean, it's never going to be a perfect solution. Some 10-year-olds don't know where their parents work. They don't know their cell phone numbers.
I personally raised it to 20.
Well, I would say if you could get drafted, you probably should be able to come to the library.
But this means that, the child is being brought in the library, that you couldn't then go, and you had to be right there.
Correct.
Ideally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand the safety of it.
They're never easy decisions
No.
to make.
So the next section is sleeping, and currently the code of conduct states that sleeping is not permitted inside the library or on library property. And we're requesting that that be removed. However, any behavior which disturbs other library patrons, visitors, or staff is not permitted. And that could be snoring loudly or lying on the floor or impeding walkways or spreading out on the furniture. Patrons would be asked to wake up in those situations, or if their wellness is, we're not sure if they're okay, they're conscious or not. So patrons would still be asked to wake up sometimes, but they wouldn't be banned for it.
What drove the desire to change?
I think it's partly an inequitable application. So if you see a gentleman like yourself dozing off with his book, it's not a policy we're going to enforce. But if you're looking a little raggedy, then we might enforce it for that person. So we want to make sure that our policies are written in a way that we're enforcing them consistently across the board, and that there shouldn't be discrimination against certain populations for sleeping. And sleeping doesn't really hurt anybody.
It may possibly make some people feel a little uncomfortable, but I'm not disagreeing.
Homelessness, unsheltered population, people who work really hard and labor type jobs who maybe get dirty in their work and then get tired and they come to the library and they fall asleep. Sometimes those people make other people feel uncomfortable.
Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
disagreeing, just.
No, it's good to ask the
I
questions.
was a teacher in another previous life, falling asleep was like capital punishment. Study on a period of book. But, okay.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah,
Yeah, I was in the background thinking too, I know in Iowa City, where our daughter lives in their library. And I thought about it, they really saw it as an equity issue.
mhm.
However, I will say that my husband fell asleep there once, he was woken up.
Well, maybe. Yeah, no, and it's good. Well, and we do try to apply the policy consistently, but the question is, why do we care?
Right. Well, that was an interesting thing in Iowa City Library, it's like,
Yeah, why do we care if they're not disturbing other people, if they're not blocking access to
And that was the
aisles and
question teachers for two-way. I don't know why we cared so much. I mean, there are kids I'd be happy.
It's just needed. They've got stuff going on at home and they just need to sleep. Yeah,
Or you might be living in public housing where it's not safe to.
Right.
I mean, there are lots of issues.
many reasons. Yeah. Yep. And we like to be a safe space.
So then the
It could
next,
be a problem, we can always, we can always revisit it, if there is a problem.
Sure.
Look at it again, but right now.
Sure. And like Rana said, the public safety and staff at branches will still, if they're concerned about a safety issue, they'll still continue to wake people up and make sure they're okay.
Okay, next one.
okay, items brought into the library. So right now, the code of conduct doesn't address limitations or parameters on items that are brought in. And for the safety of staff and patrons, we're asking that this be added to the code of conduct. Patrons and their belongings may not obstruct walkways, shelving, tables, or the entry and exits to the library. And that personal items not be left unattended for longer. And in the event of an emergency evacuations, patrons might be required to leave behind items that include the evacuation of the building. But we're also saying that bicycles, shopping carts, or other large wheeled conveyances may not be brought into the library.
We did recently have a recycle bin on wheels, or like a trash bin on wheels that somebody tried to bring in. So
What's different in their policy than what we had before?
All of it.
Didn't have one for just addressing.
So large wheel conveyances, I'm just curious, I mean, if somebody has got mobility issues and they're using a large wheel conveyance to, I mean, people that drive the little scooters are.
sure, obviously
are
that's
using
fine.
wheelchairs and all
Yeah.
that, fine.
And staff would have a certain amount of discretion
Right.
in determining what that is. So if you're thinking about a wagon that's just filled and overflowing with
Right.
belongings, those are the sorts of things we're talking about.
Okay.
And the items left unattended has been an issue in a number of different places. So we want to
Sure.
delineate that timeline for when we're going to come in and gather up your things.
For kids that are stuck in the library. and-
That's right.
When we go to yoga,
That's right.
can't do that.
Well, as long as your child is 10 and your bags are small. Well, no, even small bags left unattended, you can't.
So then, speaking of items unattended, lost and found. So currently it's that the code of conduct or the public service manual says that lost and found materials are turned over to the service staff in branch libraries or main library. And then unclaimed items are held for 30 days. And we're just asking that that be updated to say that library staff reserve the right to inspect these materials to determine ownership, like if there's a library card or an ID, we can contact the person. Or check for the possibility of hazardous or illegal items. And that wasn't stated in there before. I know at branches, kids need school IDs and backpacks and all kinds of things. Good idea to be able to track them down and return their items. Okay.
Yeah. So, we were for a while and they are much more sensitive to this stuff. We should be, but they are. And, you saw a backpack left on a bench and people cleared away.
Yeah.
When Israel, there's something low.
Probably.
That's the
They
biggest
leave on the
adult
street, they assume it's.
center. Yeah, the unattended. Thanks.
Yep, and we do open left behind bags, and so we should state that in our code of conduct that we do that.
Any questions? To have a motion to approve these changes?
Second.
Your pick.
Just choose one of them. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Ayes, thank you. Approved. I am looking at, and now I think we're on to
You're on to me.
insurance matters.
Yes, so I'm going to introduce you to Craig Heatherly from Gibson Insurance. He's our new broker. And he has information about our renewal.
Yeah, I'd be happy to stand up.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that'd be great. Is it okay over here? All right, so my name is Craig Heatherly and I work at Gibson Insurance Agency. And if you're wondering where that's at, it's right outside your window. And we're right there. So Gibson, a little bit about Gibson, if you're not familiar, we consider ourselves a local broker with a national reach. We are a top 100 insurance broker in the entire country. And just to help better understand, there's about 35,000, north of 35,000 independent insurance agencies in the country. So we're a top 100 broker. Recently, last week, we were nominated, or just awarded, the second best place to work in Indiana within our class. So Gibson is rapidly growing, which is exciting. We've got 5 different offices and more to come in the near future. A little bit about me. I've been local here. I grew up in this area. I was a Mishawaka High School graduate. And before working at Gibson, I was a college basketball coach for 11 years. And one good thing about, not one good thing, but some uniqueness about our model at Gibson is that we operate in team structures. So not only will I be your broker, but there's a team behind me that'll be help servicing the account. I work with another library locally that has multiple locations. And I'm extremely engaged in the community. I just wrapped up leadership class of 49, just graduated last week. I'm on a couple of different boards. And I know there's some IUSB representation here locally. One of my projects that I worked on was with IUSB, the Chancellor. Exciting times. So to share with you a little bit about the insurance program that renews on the 16th of next month. All right, we've negotiated an increase of 2.5% on the entire program. Industry average right now is just shy of 8%. So that is a very favorable renewal. We compare apples to apples. We've suggested a few different coverage enhancements that the library will have to make this decision on. But we feel very confident in the negotiations. Now, we squeezed a 60-day process into about 10 days. So we were not able to get as much leverage in the marketplace, and that's the insurance companies. They try and get as many to the table as possible to like your business, and then they offer you quotes. So in the condensed time frame, we're able to do that on a few different lines of coverage, which provided the 2.5% rate increase. In addition to that, within the process, we've identified a few things in which, from a risk management perspective, we believe we can help the library. We've already addressed a few things, discussed a few things as far as, it's great to hear that we've got some adjustments to policies and handbooks. We took a thorough look at all of that, and we made some recommendations as well, specific to auto and different exposures that we have in that area that I think we can account for. So that's high level. Gibson, myself, I am at a book club, 2 book clubs, in case that helps. And a little bit about the renewal of the program. Anything else we would like to have commentary on?
I have a question. It sounds like the compressed time was not the best thing in the world. Why was it compressed?
So I've got a timeline here.
Because we came to them late. Yeah, we underestimated.
That was Stephanie back.
Yep, we underestimated the amount of time it would take to do a renewal. Yeah, that's on me.
But I will say, as we approach next year's renewal, we're actually in a marketing period right now with the other library that we work with. And we've got a lot of groups, probably 6 to 8, that are competing on that program right now, that declined to compete this year on this program because of the time constraints. Yes, we feel confident with that, and I'd be more than happy to provide that marketing list as well.
So, I noticed under the, I guess, program overview premium analysis, it's page 33 of our 35 handbook. Just the expiring values and renewal values, they seem like for almost all the categories, they're the same, except for property. The expiring value was 106 million, and we took it down to 98 million. I was curious to just understand a little bit more about how we came up with that, how that value was determined to begin with, and how we, if we, you know, took it down a little bit. I guess 7.5%.
We got rid of one location.
Keller Park.
on the program.
Oh, so we were covering Keller last year because we were there still, so we were able to. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And that property portion is based on our capital assets, which we just
Okay.
had reconfigured.
Any other questions?
But is Hanover where we were before? Is that one reason that came in for the new?
Yeah, so they're the, what we would consider the incumbent carrier.
Right.
And yeah, so, and then they're on, they're a big player in the library space, very competitive, very competitive.
And I will say that we're asking for approval of the policy, including the new portion that Craig brought to us, which is, what is it? The equipment. Yes.
Yeah, yes, so,
So that would cover breakdown of elevators, HVAC, et cetera, up to 50,000 a year. Am I right?
it's included in your building limit, so, it's a substantial amount of coverage based upon what the value of the building is, so yeah. it's-
Okay, what he said there, but elevator repairs alone can be very, very expensive. So I would like to go ahead and add that coverage for us.
That's an additional 5,000, so 5,400.
Yeah, it's 5,400, and to be completely honest, that is a coverage that pretty much comes standard on a program. Speaking with the underwriter on the program, just there wasn't a box that was checked last year, and that's a yeah, it can be pretty costly for an organization.
Are you satisfied?
I'm satisfied. Actually, Craig's been great. They have brought some things to our attention that we weren't aware of, like this equipment thing. And they've been really great to work with. And his team will bring our health insurance renewal, and they're working on that already for us too. And they're doing some really creative things in that space.
Questions?
I was gonna move to approve it and look at this.
Other motion? I got from Christine. A second? Okay. So moved, is there any discussion? If not, I will call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. No opposed, passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Craig.
And Jenny, ACT Navigator Grant.
So we partnered with the city of South Bend on an application for the Affordable Connectivity Plan and the Navigator Pilot. We also worked with them on, there's a complimentary grant called the Affordable Connectivity Plan Outreach Grant. We worked with them on that, but we're not actually written with that grant. We're just going to be a partner or subrecipient for that. So it's the total between those two is a fairly large. I think it comes out to $300,000 or $400,000 in total for the city. Our portion of it is $75,000, the grant amount that we were awarded as part of that grant. And that's to pay for a navigator position It's specifically for signing, people in our community up for the Affordable Connectivity Plan. There's a big push going on in the federal government to get more people aware of this, opportunity and also to sign them up for reduced cost, internet. And then there's a bunch of corollary services that we can bring into play, including digital literacy and the access to technology. So for our part, the navigator will actually go out and work in the community. We're focusing on Lakeville and North Liberty, in addition to our other branches, but that's the way that we were able to work with the city and being able to offer access to areas with low ACP uptake that are outside of city bounds. So it's a really exciting way to work with the city and a really nice opportunity. There will be, I'm sorry, I'm giving you all the information real quick, so hopefully I'm not missing anything. There will be a number of navigators in a cohort. So we're housing one, citywide classrooms, which is I know they're a group that works with the South Bend School Corporation to make sure that families have access to technology and the internet. They will also have one, and then the city will have an outreach team that has two. So our navigator will be working with a bunch of other navigators. We're going to be participating and making sure that they're all trained up with standard and customer service kind of priorities that the library holds to. So it's a really interesting opportunity to test out this model of providing service, which is very one-on-one, and you can help navigate a person through all the steps. But yeah, so it's an exciting grant opportunity. The grant starts on June 1st. If we hear back from the federal government, this one then. Otherwise, it will start whenever that happens. But working really closely in lockstep with the city to make sure that everything goes in order.
Let me ask two grant related questions. Having been a grant writer for many years, sustainability, and I'm sure that that was part of the grant. So if it was, how long is it funded, and then what are the sustainability?
The grant itself is a short term because it's really a push that the federal government is trying to make towards the ACP kind of uptake. So the grant itself is only written for a 1-year period. And I think for our purposes, we're really just it's truly a pilot for us. And is this a really effective, sustainable service model? And then we can talk to the city about other opportunities for working in a continued fashion. But the grant itself is only meant to be a shorter term effort.
And I'm sure that the grant lists goals and objectives. So in terms of how do you know it's successful, so that next year when he asks us to renew it, we know it's successful.
Yeah. One of our main criteria is number of households. So we have a number that we're hoping to reach. I think it's 1,000 households we're hoping to sign up for this program, and that's across all. We're really working on this as a collaborative effort. So that's across the whole partnership. And then there's a certain number of outreach events that we want to have at each location, and a certain number of partners that we want to engage with doing outreach work as well. So like you said, all that really tactical goal and kind of what our efforts are for is outlined in the grant.
So, the navigator will go out to households to encourage them or help them get connected. Which one?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
So it'll be a two-part strategy. One is to host events, both at our locations and also kind of out in the community. You know, you have to be flexible and, you know, where are people and go to them. And then the intention is that it's more than just a table set up with a person sitting behind the table though. You really are supposed to make connections and form relationships with people. And then, you know, the first step is getting them signed up and assessing the need for ACP. But then as part of navigation, you kind of identify further needs and can help them find where else they need to go. You know, what do you need your internet for? Do you have all the technology and tools in place to actually access this? You know, have you filled out? We all know government forms are often complicated. So even the mere step of walking someone through all of the things that they're gonna need to do to sign up for this plan, is gonna be huge, but it's more one-on-one service.
So does the grant pay for the service too, or does the person end up paying for the internet?
It doesn't pay for for the individual participation, it just pays for the outreach events, the staffing required, kind of all of the overhead needed to get people signed up. And then from there, and I don't know, I'm not going to be the ACP navigator, which is a good thing, but I don't quite know what the details of the program are, like what levels of financing or how much support is provided, so.
It sounds like there should be two levels. One is output, number of people reached, and then there's outcomes,
Mhm.
number of people who actually use what they learn. So I'm assuming they're both in.
Yeah, and this one does very much, it more focuses on the output, so the number of people signed up, because this was a granting opportunity presented by the federal government. So, and we just responded to that. And I think their primary interest is in number of people who sign up for the program. But of course, our interests extend beyond that in terms of what impact we're making in the community. So we'll be paying attention to that as well.
Jennifer, have you done any kind of, or has the city done any kind of a needs assessment? In other words, is it primarily older people who don't have access? Is it primarily families that don't have access? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, we did, we pulled out a bunch of data that we had. There's a few dashboards and toolkits that look at internet use and also ACP specific information. And we decided to focus on specific zip codes. So rather than focusing on demographic characteristics, which we didn't have that level of information. And we actually couldn't even break it down to census tract because not all of the data was that granular. So we went with zip codes. So we've identified 3 locations, south side, well, actually four. So we're going to be doing North Liberty and Lakeville. There's a pocket over in the Riverside area, actually, not Riverside, River Park area of our branch. And then the west side, of course, and then south side. There were definitely pockets of more intense, the combination of not having access to wireless internet and then also income. So that we saw those as the people that had the most benefit from this program. Of course, we're going to be looking everywhere. So there'll be outreach events at Francis Branch and partners all across the community, but those are our focal areas.
Questions? Any more questions? Nicole, nice to see you. You join us.
So the server, are you signing up with a particular internet provider, or is the internet provider part of this connectivity? Who are they signing up with? Or does money help pay them sign up for whatever the particular,
Yeah, it works through whatever the connectivity plan works with the provider. So, and I know ATTN has actually been doing a lot of promotion for it. So you do have the big providers in the area that are kind of pushing this themselves because it's beneficial in a few ways. So, and that is all of the training material for that, and how, the different processes that people will have to go through, what the requirements are to sign up for ATT. All of that information, the navigators will go through this training to make sure that they're aware of all of it. And then we're going to also be giving them navigation training, how you actually are a navigator, regardless of what the service is.
and do we ever do why people aren't connected? It could be if you don't have computers,
I think
then I don't see how.
our biggest guess is that it's, well, a combination of knowing that this program is available, or really, affordable connectivity plans might not even know, do I is it available to me? What is that? Or how do I sign up for it? Information is one thing, which is why we're focusing on outreach. And the other thing is breaking down the stigma of, signing up for yet another program that's supposed to help you out. So we're trying to also make it something where it's, it's not a big burden on a person to sign up for it. But I would imagine information is the biggest, but they just don't know that it's available or the benefit that it could provide.
But you wouldn't need a computer, right? So you could connect with
Yeah.
smartphone.
Yeah, it could be any device.
Any other question? Are we seeking our approval or submission?
Motion to accept the grant.
Oh. that's good. I always take grants. Do you have a motion to accept the grant? Okay, and fighting for approval there. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
We have to roll call now. but
Oh,
we've got it.
Nicole.
Yeah, roll call.
I got, okay. I will start with Dan.
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Ruth?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
I vote aye. So approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Any other business? Do you have any visitors that need to be heard? Hearing none. News and education items. Jill?
I'll talk a little bit about the SB Ready program. We have Jenny, I, both of the Southern Community Schools. Okay, so SB Ready stands for South Bend Ready, and if you go to the next slide, it's an early literacy partnership between the library and the South Bend Community Schools, including the Empowerment Zone schools. We created this partnership to help address part of goal 1 of the strategic plan, which includes a sub goal about getting our South Bend Community School students ready to read by grade 3 and up to standard. South Bend Community Schools has very depressed reading scores. Last year, about 18% of their students were considered competent in English language arts by the state standardized test. So we wanted to put in place a program where from the very beginning of students' academic careers, they're connected with the library, know the library, and understand how to use all the resources they have. We'll say a little bit about the goals for our first year. We have some ambitious goals. We wanted every kindergartner across all 16 schools to receive library cards, an outreach visit in their classroom from their local branch librarian, and a field trip to the main library in February for Library Visit Month. We wanted that field trip to include lessons about how to use their cards and actually check out a book, a tour of the space, a story time, and some playtime in our tiny town. The next slide has a little bit of data about. Figure this out. What was achieved? All right. So for that first year, we ended up making over 800 kindergartners library cards, and they came for field trip visits to the main library. Librarians visited 55 classes on outreach story times with their librarians across the system, because we wanted kids to get to know their librarians at their branches that they would go to in their neighborhoods, as well as coming to the main library. And we ended up serving all 16 South Bend Community School Corporation elementary schools. So we had a big dream, and thanks to everyone at the library, all of the staff, and the school corporations, we were able to achieve those big dreams. But we're not stopping there. So for year 2, our goal for the upcoming year is to welcome the new class of kindergartners, give them the full kindergarten special, and to also follow the current kindergartners as they go to grade 1. So we don't want to lose the kids after kindergarten. We want to make sure we're following them up through that really critical early literacy period up to grade 3. And so for the first grade, they will still get outreach visits from local branch librarians. They'll stay connected to the library, and there'll be a writing project of some kind, and we're still discussing with the school where they might make a first grade anthology where they all contribute to being authors and illustrators and just see themselves as part of that literary community. And then we're having a teacher focus group coming up, and we sent out parent feedback surveys in terms of postcards for families that weren't using the internet or don't have easy access at home, and we plan to incorporate all of that into the years of school. And I wanted to share some really fun quotes that we got. We got some really nice visits from parents who came in with kids and family members after and shared, and as well as the pictures that we were able to take during the visits. We've had so many families come in and say that they had to stop by because their kindergartner wouldn't stop talking about the library in a tiny town. Next slide, we've had lots of families who have come and gotten cards who commented they haven't been back since their innovation or they haven't been in years. And you know, my kindergartner got a card, can I get one too? We've made a lot of cards for families with us. And then we had really nice feedback from teachers who were just grateful that we were ready, we had organized and professional staff, and we had book checkouts available, cards ready to go. And the kids' favorite part was, of course, the tiny town. And that's my little update about something ready.
Very nice. 800 kindergartens.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, some of my favorite days here, walking downstairs, seeing the class of kindergartners walk in, just be like, wow. Check out their books.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun. They did a great job. It was so much work for them. Well worth it, I think.
Thank you, Jill, and the staff. Questions? Compliments? Good.
That's while they're young, even though.
Okay, next library meeting will be Monday, June 26th at the Francis Branch at 4:15 p.m. There's no other business. Got a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I got one.
Second.
I got a second. All in favor? Oh, I gotta call the roll. I'm sorry. Nicole, you want to adjourn? Since you just got here.
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
Terry? Aye. Christine?
Aye.
Alan? Aye. I say aye. Thank you all very much. See you next month.